We welcome in a real good friend of this show, and that's Marty Smith, who has had an awfully long day, and so we appreciate you joining us here late. But you know what? It feels like an important day, given what happened and given what Bubba said about the Confederate flag. And NASCAR came out very quickly and decided that that would no longer be welcome at their events. How, Marty, does this play with NASCAR and the people that support the sport?
First of all, Scotty, thanks for having me this evening. It was simply time. And it's a long time coming in NASCAR that this decision was made. And it just took a catalyst in order to have the conviction and to have the willingness to make themselves vulnerable enough to convince NASCAR that they had to take this type of stand. And those two catalysts were Bubba Wallace, certainly, and Jimmy Johnson, the seven-time NASCAR champion who really galvanized the driving corps to stand up in unison against racial injustice and to ensure that they started to take steps to become advocates for racial equality. And when Bubba, let me back up to last Sunday.
Go ahead.
That moment of silence when Bubba Wallace is sitting in his car and he's looking over at his crew members who are white, holding up a t-shirt that says, "I can't breathe, Black Lives Matter," and he breaks down in tears sitting in his race car. Unbelievably emotional moment for him. Unbelievable moment of clarity for him of how far he and the sport had come. And then he goes on television in the aftermath of that moment, which was unprecedented in NASCAR, and starts to discuss the fact that the Confederate flag is uncomfortable and that it makes some people feel unwelcome, and that thereby that means that NASCAR is not as inclusive as it should be. And he basically verbally demanded of NASCAR, without making demands,
right.
He said, "We got to get rid of this thing. It's time." And NASCAR had two choices, Scotty. They could either listen and act, or they could ignore. And within 48 hours, they listened and they acted, and it is impossible to overstate how historic this day is. Quite a day in the NASCAR world.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr., who was a guest last week, explained to us how much he appreciates Bubba, and Dale Jr. throwing his considerable weight behind the cause and to stand shoulder to shoulder with Bubba felt important to me, someone who doesn't understand the sport nearly as well as you do. But it feels important to me, Marty. Go ahead.
I want to back up to 2015, Scotty, as it pertains to Dale Jr. He is someone who has such tremendous empathy for all people. I've known him. He's been one of my dearest friends for half our lives. And he's taught me a lot about being empathetic towards other people, especially in recent years. And in 2015, in Sonoma, California, then NASCAR President Brian France stated that he would like to see the Confederate flag gone from the sport because it was, in his words, an insensitive symbol. Dale Jr. was interviewed, Scotty, that same weekend, and he went so far as to say, it is, I want to make sure I get his words exactly right, oppressive and to an entire race, and it belongs in the history books. And for someone with that voice and someone who carries that much weight, not just in the motorsports garage, but Dale Jr. transcended, man. Dale Jr. put NASCAR racing in the pages of Rolling Stone, in the pages of Playboy, and in Jay-Z videos. Mm-hmm. So his voice was very wide-reaching. And so for him to say those words and then follow up with that this week, it is a very important voice. You're correct.
Well, and there's more to be said about this, and this is a conversation that, frankly, the framework of our show doesn't allow us to go. This is a podcast topic, and this is something you and I can delve into, because I am curious where the conversation goes from here, because it is an important symbol to some, and maybe I should say many, that support NASCAR in the South. And so we will see what happens. If you got one more, it's going to have to be very, very quick, Marty, because we're going to have to run. Go ahead.
Real quick. I'll be real quick. I'll be, because I know that this is going to be asked. What do you say to those people who appreciate that flag and appreciate NASCAR? I would say this. NASCAR's decision here is not closing a door on you. It is, in fact, opening the door to everyone, no matter who you love, no matter what you might worship, no matter what you cheer for. The door is now open to you. It's not closed to anyone anymore. That would be the message.
Marty, I know it's been a long day. I appreciate you squeezing in time for us. Get some rest and be well. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.